Hey everyone, Matt here from cardboardchampions.co.uk, and we're here to talk today about how you're going to set up Ultron and get him ready for play. Ultron's the last villain in the core set box, and he's probably the hardest in there. We've definitely lost him more than once, even with a full collection, so don't take him for granted. The first thing we're going to do before we get the villain setup, however, is go through the player setup. So you're going to need to have picked your hero and built your deck, set aside your nemesis and obligation, set your hero's hit points, and select who's going first. Once that's all done, we can set up the villain's deck, so get that out of the way and then come back later. The first step of creating the encounter deck is to grab your standard and expert encounter sets, whether you're playing standard or expert. If you are playing expert, you're going to need both standard and expert, so don't miss that out. And all of the cards with Ultron on the bottom. You'll probably want to separate out the main scheme and things though, because they're not going to be going into the encounter deck. Importantly for Ultron, there's going to be the Ultron drones environment. I recommend setting that aside for now rather than shuffling it in, otherwise you're just going to have to go and find it. The next thing you're going to need is your obligations and one modular set. The one that Ultron is designed to come with is under attack, but you can switch this out for whatever you like. For example, if I wanted to play with Masters of Evil instead, I can absolutely do that, grab that instead of under attack. For now though, I recommend just playing it as standard and grabbing under attack unless you find it's too difficult for you, in which case maybe grab something like, I don't know, Legions of Hydra, that could work. Once you've got all your cards together, shuffle them all up and your encounter deck is ready to go. Perhaps before you do that though, check for any setup cards. Now, by default there won't be any setup cards that you have to worry about. That's set up with a full stop, not set up with a colon. Those are setup abilities that we're going to handle later, but that's not the time for them right now. What we're looking for is things like Pursued by the Past from the standard 3 encounter set, which have setup followed by a period. They're the ones that we need to get into play right now. Chances are that won't matter for you, so go ahead and skip past this bit. Now we're going to do the main scheme setup. As I mentioned earlier, the Ultron drones environment is put into play by his main scheme, so we get that into play immediately. Ultron drones is an interesting type of card that you might not have encountered up until now. It's an environment. It just kind of sits there menacingly, providing a static effect for the entirety of the scenario. We then advance to side 1B of the main scheme, and that has a when revealed ability. That says each player puts the top card of the deck into play face down, engage them as a drone minion. Now, drones are defined by the Ultron drones environment. It says that the top card of our deck is now a minion with 1 attack, 1 scheme, and 1 health. When you kill that minion, or defeat it rather, you're going to put it back into your discard, so that's going to be the only way to get those back. Notably, you're not allowed to look at what that card is, so there's good odds that could be something really useful. It's a good idea to get rid of these sooner rather than later. Ultron doesn't have any specific villain set up on his cards, so we don't need to do anything with those, but we do need to set his hit points. So Ultron has 17 health per player in standard difficulty and 22 per player in expert. That means with 1 player on standard you're going to be looking at 17 health, whereas if you're playing standard with 4 players you're going to end up with 68. For your convenience, here's a handy table. You can see it's going to go all the way from that initial 17 to a whopping 88 health just for his first phase in Expert 4 player. That's a lot of health. So here's what a standard setup might look like. This is 2 players, 1 drone minion engaged per player, 34 health. Whereas this is what it would look like on Expert. Almost exactly the same, just instead he's got 44 health. Now that we're done with the villain setup, we can do all the usual stuff that we do right before we start the game. So draw your hands, mulligan away any cards that you don't want and draw replacements. Remember, you can only mulligan once, not infinitely. I've seen people do that before. And then start to resolve your hero setup abilities. Good luck with Ultron. If his drones get you down, make sure you bring a leadership player with Hawkeye and Squirrel Girl. They're phenomenal at keeping the Ultron drones down, and they'll just make life incredibly easy for you. If you found this useful, remember to like, subscribe, comment, all those things that YouTubers get to do, I don't know. And most importantly, come and visit us on cardboardchampions.co.uk. We've got loads of articles and guides, and there's links to our coffee page down in the description, where you'll find things like our downloadable keyword cheat sheet, campaign logs for various games. We try to make resources that everyone will find helpful and put them up there as pay what you want, so they're free if you want them to be free, or if you'd like to support what we're doing, you're more than welcome to pay us. We quite like that. Regardless, good luck taking down Ultron, and yeah, keep those drones under control.